Hello there, happy Saturday, and welcome back to day 6 of the Change Your Mind to Change Your Body Challenge. I'm Lisa Goldberg, nutritionist and lifestyle coach, and I'm so excited that you're here on this Saturday with me, so I really appreciate that. And you probably got the email this morning. If you've been taking the challenge, you would have received a daily email starting on Monday with a step for each day in my 7-step method for lasting weight loss. Because if you've been following the challenge, if you get my newsletters or watch my summits or webinars, you know that I believe to really lose weight and keep it off for good, you have to change your habits and behaviors and your mindset and your relationship with yourself and with food. Because those are the things that need to change in order to be able to lose weight and keep it off for good. Because if you're somebody that's been on a million different diets, you kind of already know it's not about the diet, it's not about the best diet out there, it's never about the food. The reasons why you eat have nothing to do with the food. The food is just kind of, the symptom or your, drug of choice, so to speak, to try to fix the feelings that don't feel good to you, or to try to, it's just part of your habits and behaviors and conditioning when you eat, and it has nothing to do with hunger. So I want to review with you, for some of you might be new to the challenge, some of you people have been joining the challenge as the week's gone on, and so we're on day 6, but day 1, just for a quick review, was nourish. How do you feed yourself? What do you feed yourself? When and why? And then the second step is creating an awareness of your habits and behaviors and your mindset around food and eating. Because if you don't even know what those habits are, if you're not aware of them, if a habit is something we do without thinking, so if you don't even have an awareness of what that is, it's going to be hard for you to change it. And then the third step was monitor your messaging. Really pay close attention to what you say to yourself. And here's why. It's because that messaging that you give yourself over and over and over, that's what's going to have you repeating your old patterns. So part of the messaging is, thanks for the like, thank you. Part of the messaging has you repeating those patterns, and it's part of your belief system. So there's something that's called limiting beliefs. And so if you believe you can't do it, if you tell yourself what's the point, that's your belief system, and that's the messaging that you give to yourself. So in order to change your habits and behaviors and your mindset, you have to be really aware of what you keep telling yourself and what you truly believe that really may not be the truth. And then the next step is to pay attention to what your triggers are. And triggers could be so many things. It could be the time of day, a physical sensation in your body. It could be, a person in your life that just triggers you. And so really paying attention. And so what I've asked you to do is to write all this stuff down. I've sent you some PDFs and some, things that you could write in all of your emails, and the part of the challenge is to write down, keep a notebook, take notes on what you're starting to learn about yourself, and to be able to change this stuff. And then yesterday we talked about changing and how to change the mental messaging. And so that's kind of the hard part, because you're going to find yourself giving yourself these messages that just come on automatic pilot because it's what you've been telling yourself for so long. But catching yourself, what's the point? What's the use? Am I worth it? Is this worth it? Whatever it is that you say to yourself, hearing it in your head, being aware, catching it, and then changing it. No, that's not the truth. No, here's what I know to be true. I can change it. I am worth it. And changing the voice, changing the narrative as soon as you hear it. And so changing the messages that you give to yourself and working on that on a regular basis. And so the next step, which brings us to today, is practice. Because Here's the thing. You can't just do all this stuff and not practice it every single day. What you need to do is figure out what you do, focus on what your habits and behaviors are, notice the messaging that you give to yourself, and choose one or two things to start with. The thing that you struggle with the most, practice that every day, because the only way to change this, the only way for this to become, a new routine for you, the only way to adapt it as a lifestyle and a new habit and behavior change is to practice it, and not a couple of times a week and not every once in a while, but to practice it every single day until it becomes your new narrative, your new loop, your new routine, whatever words you want to give to it. This is something that you need to do every single day. And so if you got my email this morning, you saw that the analogy that I use is if you want to learn to play the piano, because you just don't decide, I think it would be great if I could just play the piano, and you sit down at the bench and at the piano and just start to play. You have to first hire somebody to teach you the notes and the chords and the keys, and then they teach you how to read the music. And then as you start to learn the notes and the chords and the keys and how to read the music, you need to practice every single day until you become better, until your brain automatically starts to remember the notes, the chords, the keys, and how to read those notes on the paper. And so as you start to practice and your brain starts to remember, eventually you're going to be able to play that piano without reading the music and without having to remember what the notes and the keys are, because you're just going to automatically know how to do that because you've practiced. And eventually you will play by ear. And so it's the same thing with changing your habits and behaviors and your mindset. You've got to remember to practice every single day. It's got to be so important to you. And we talked about, being committed and your goals. If you're interested in your goals, you'll just create a whole bunch of excuses not to do the things you need to do to reach them. If you're committed to your goals, nothing will stop you from reaching them. So you need to ask yourself, are you interested in reaching these goals, or are you committed? And so here's what I want to talk to you about too. It's just, a lot of people reposted, I asked you yesterday, what is your why? And so, many of you said, I just want to be healthier and do the things that I want to do, or I want to fit into a certain, certain clothing. And then somebody else said, I want to grow in love and grace and be able to sit in the discomfort. And so knowing what your why is, and being really committed to your why. And I always tell people it has to be more than I just want to lose weight, because that, for so many people, even though they want it, there's something about just losing weight that's not big enough for them. And so how will losing that weight change your life? That is really your why. That's really what you're going to stay connected to. What in your life will change? What will be better for you? You feel better. You live better. You're healthier. You change your chronic conditions. You can go hiking or biking or running, or you could play in the yard with your kids. I mean, something as simple as that. You can get up and down from a chair. You can get up and off the floor really easily. God forbid, something happens and you need to run for your life. You can run for your life, and the weight's not going to stop you. You could date. You can have a social life. I work with so many women who the weight is a barrier. It keeps them trapped from having the love of their life, or having love in their life, or just having relationships, whether it's loving relationships or just friendships. Don't let all of this stuff keep you from living your life. And here's what I know. when you practice changing your habits and behaviors and the relationship with food, when you start to make different choices, when you start to think differently, the weight will just come off without you feeling like you're on a diet, because you're not restricting. You're finding other things as a way to deal with your feelings that have nothing to do with food. You're making better choices for yourself because you're choosing yourself and not the food. You're taking the power back that you give to food and putting it back on yourself. You're recognizing that you do have control, that you do have the power, and that everything you have in your life, everything you put in your mouth and everything in your life is a choice. And it's your choice. And so it's really important that you step up and you take responsibility for all of the choices that you make in your life. And there's an expert that I've had on my summit called Gudni Gunnarsson, and he talks about being just not responsible, but being response-able. You have to become response-able to take control of your life. Because if you think about all of the excuses that you create as to why you can't, I'm unable to, what if I can't, I'm not capable, I don't believe, it's all about you believing in you. Because, if your parents told you when you were little, you can do anything you want to do, it's really so true. You just have to get past all the fear and all your limiting belief and all the stuff that keeps you stuck and repeating those patterns over and over and over. Because I know it's changeable. I've done it myself. I mean, earlier in the week, if you go back and listen to the videos, I struggled with gaining and losing weight. I mean, gaining the same amount of weight over and over and over again, going on a million diets, binge eating, on a Sunday night, only to go on a restrictive diet on a Monday, being good for however long I was good, either until something happened and I said, the heck with this, or either I lost all the weight and then I said, okay, now I'm done. And so it's really a matter of changing your routine and your habits and your lifestyle and choosing you. And it's changeable. You can open your cabinet or your refrigerator and think about eating something and decide not to, because the outcome of that decision is going to make you feel bad longer than it's going to make you feel good. So what's really important in this process, and it's part of the steps, is to practice. So who has a question, who wants to share, who wants to tell me what you've discovered over the course of these last 5 or 6 days, reading the emails, reading the posts in the Facebook group, listening to the videos, and what have you learned, or where are you still stuck? What do you want help with? How can I help support you today? So go ahead, feel free, post. For those of you who are watching, I know, for some of you it's the morning, for some of you it's the middle of the afternoon. Hey, Kathy, can you give examples, besides the piano, of practicing habits with food? Sure. So, for some people, it's a matter of getting into routine. So, what time do you eat breakfast? Getting into routine, eating breakfast at the same time every day. Try to get your meals into routine. Make that a habit. Don't make it harry-carry. So, getting to the grocery store, picking a couple of days of the week. So whether it's, one day on the weekend and one day during the week, or just one day during the week, whatever it is for you, make sure that every single day, or the same day of the week, you get into the habit of getting what you need so you could be planned and prepared. And so practicing habits, what is it that you want to change? You want to not emotionally eat. So maybe emotionally eating for you is at night, and you created your plan B. Every single time you feel whatever it is that triggers you, you enact whatever it is that your plan B is. and you can't do it sometimes, and you can't do it once or twice a week, but every single time, and maybe you have a couple of plan Bs. Maybe there's a couple of different things that are going to work for you, whether it's taking a shower or a Listerine strip or leaving the kitchen or going to another floor in your house. Some people do that just to remove themselves from, being close to the kitchen. Whatever your plan B is, every single time you feel that feeling, you have to do that new routine. And so maybe you think you're hungry. So part of it is, and you decide, I'm going to have a glass of water. Because the question you're always going to first ask yourself is, am I hungry? If you decide you're not hungry, then you're going to enact your plan B rather than eat. Maybe one of those things is you drink a large glass of water. And that's part of your plan B. And so whatever it is that you are struggling with, and you need to change the habit. So rather than eat, you need to do that new habit. And it's about making a plan. Maybe you wake up every morning. Maybe part of your routine is waking up in the morning and creating a mental image of what you want your day to be like. But you can't do that just a couple of days a week. You have to commit to waking up every morning and giving thought to what you want your day to be like. Maybe you do that the night before. If it's creating an exercise routine, put in your book, write down what days of the week you want to exercise, write down the time so everything else gets scheduled around it. All right? Be prepared. Have your clothes out. Have your bag packed. Get into the new routine of being ready to go do that. It eliminates some of the excuses of not doing it. So whatever it is that you want to change, start to establish a new routine around it. Does that help answer your questions? Okay, who else has a question about practicing the habit or about any of the steps that we've gone over? So what's really clear is that you can think about this once in a while. And so when I work with clients and we're doing a coaching session, whatever it was that we talked about, they need to go into their life and implement it. And so Carol, practice forgiving yourself if you slip. Get right back on track. This may take a while to internalize, but you can do it. Absolutely. And in with that, practice forgiving yourself and staying on track. It's about getting rid of that dieter's mentality. I blew it anyway. That's a big thing to practice getting rid of. Notice that messaging. I blew it anyway. I ate 2 cookies, so therefore I may as well eat everything. It's 2 cookies. Forgive yourself for the slip up. Create a plan in your head of tomorrow, here's what I want for myself. If it's early in the day, create a plan for forgiving yourself and just being like, at my next meal, I'm just going to eat better. And it's just like, for goodness sake, it's 2 cookies. If the rest of your week or most of your days were great, make sure that you enjoyed those 2 cookies or whatever it was. But forgiving yourself and not berating yourself and breaking that vicious cycle of how you speak to yourself is so important. So thanks, Carol. That was a really great reminder for everybody to be forgiving. Because here's the thing. It's not only about changing the relationship with food, it's about changing the relationship with yourself. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to be loving to yourself. You have to speak to yourself the way you'd speak to your friend. And if your friend slipped up and she confided in you that she did something she wished she didn't do, you would never berate her. You would never speak to her in a negative tone. You would never reprimand her. You'd be like, oh, don't worry about it. You're still great. You still look terrific. You would still encourage her to go on and continue. And that's what you need to do for yourself. So who else wants to either contribute to the conversation? Because here's what I know too. For those of you that have been doing it so long, we all might not take our own great advice, but we could certainly give great advice to those who struggle with the same thing we do. And so who else wants to contribute or has something to ask? Or is there something that you struggle with around food and eating? Yesterday somebody posted something and she said, I feel like I feel like you know me. I feel like, you're in my head, because one of the things I said yesterday was, don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. Thinking you should be able to do this by yourself and asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of self-love. So loving yourself is getting the help that you need. So, great, Kathy. I need to set aside time to plan specific steps. Absolutely. Here's the thing, you guys. This is all about you. This is about what you need. And it's about putting yourself as a priority and practicing better self-care and putting you first. What do you need? What do you need to get there? Because even if you've got a whole big family, if you take care of everybody else's needs first and you put yours last, you're going to be tired, you're going to be burnt out, you're going to be eating because you're going to think, well, at least I have this, while everybody else is, all well nourished, both, physically and emotionally, and you're in a state of lack from a physical and emotional place. You're just going to turn to food or something else, food, wine, whatever it is, to try to make yourself feel better, because that's going to be your coping mechanism. So when you're better, when you feel great, when you're rested and have energy and you're loving the place where you're at in your life and in your body, everybody else who you love and support will be better for it. And so it's not selfish, it's self-preservation, and it's self-care. So put yourself first. So who else wants to share? Who else wants to share what your why is? And if you're not sure what your why is, do you want to elaborate on what that is? And so here is what I want to leave you with. So I know that you've been with me for a week, you've been listening, you've been receiving the emails and listening to these calls. Here's what I want you to know. For anybody that struggles with emotional eating, yo-yo dieting, gaining and losing weight for the whole life, or just, not feeling great about yourself or where you're at, it's changeable. Whether you want to try it on your own or whether you want to get some help to make the changes that you need. And so lasting weight loss is really a function of taking these steps of changing your habits and behaviors. Because if you don't change the stuff that got you to be overweight in the first place, the weight that you lose from going on a diet will just eventually work its way back. And so I want you to hear that it's really important. This is the stuff that needs to change in order to lose weight and keep it all for good. Because at the end of the day, when I'm working with clients, whether it's in my group or whether it's private coaching, when I'm working with clients, my long-term goal for them is to give them the tools that they need to lose weight and never gain it back again. Because that's what you want to do. You want to be rid of this yo-yo dieting. You want to be rid of this emotional relationship with food. You want to not have food be what you turn to try to fix everything that isn't going so great in your life. And I took a survey of my group, and I'd say a good 70% of the people who were in my tribe and took the survey struggled with this their whole entire life. My question to you is, isn't it time to stop the struggle? So if you haven't listened to all of the videos, go back to day one. Go back to the day one email. Review them. Take great notes. Dig down deep. And really tell yourself the truth about what it is that you need. What do you need to do to create these changes, to lose the weight and keep it off for good? And so you may have a big weight loss goal in your mind of whether you need to lose 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds. Whatever that number is, I will tell you, if you lose even a quarter or half of whatever that number is, you will feel amazing in your body, and the rest of it may not even matter. So, nourish, create an awareness of your habits, behaviors, and your mindset. What do you tell yourself and what are your limiting beliefs? What are your triggers? Work on changing the negative messages that you give to yourself day in and day out. All right? And then practice every single day. And so if you have any questions, go ahead and post away for me right now. Anybody else who kind of has any more questions about what we've just talked about or anything else during the week, post to the Facebook group, because here's what I'm going to tell you, share. Because whatever you're going through, whatever challenges or obstacles that you have, or whatever wins that you've had, people want to know about them and share it with the group. And whatever obstacles or challenges that you have, so many other people in this group have them as well. So don't be shy. It's about becoming a little bit vulnerable and getting the help that you need. So it was great being here with you today. And for those of you who spent your Saturday here with me today, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking this challenge. I hope that you've gotten a lot of what you've needed to start to create your change. I don't know, maybe some of you, if you don't get my emails, you can go to my website, lisagoldbergnutrition.com. I've got a downloadable sheet that's a motivational guide to start your weight loss and create your change that also has a bunch of recipes for a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's a free motivational guide at lisagoldbergnutrition.com. If you want to take a deeper dive, schedule a call with me. If there's nothing open on my calendar, because I think some of you may know, I'm heading on Monday to California, where I'll be in a conference with my coach for 3 days. And so I work with a coach to help me get over blocks that I have in my life, and I've worked with her for 2 years because I knew there were things I wanted to change, and if I was able to change them, I would have been changing them already, so I hired a coach. And so if there's not a block of time available, email me directly, lisa@lisagoldbergnutrition.com, and I will schedule with you personally a time for us to talk. So again, have a great rest of your Saturday, wherever you are in the world. I hope it's a beautiful sunny day out there for you, like it is. It happens to be here in New York City. It's kind of pretty nice for the weather we've been having. And I will see you all back here tomorrow to wrap up the challenge and for day 7 of the Change Your Mind to Change Your Body challenge. All right? Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, and I'll see you in the Facebook group.